What is up? What is up, everybody? We are live. Appreciate everybody for coming in. We are joined by our amazing Shy Balor. You know him, many of you know him, and we are joined back again by Dave Whitney from Starfighters. We had you guys on a couple months ago, and today is a pretty big day for you guys. Exciting time. So we appreciate you coming back in and joining us back here. How are you doing,
Yeah,
sir?
thanks, Evan. Thanks, Shay. Super exciting to be here on this historic day for the company. So super stoked to be talking to you guys today.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you joining us here. I do always like to start these thing off with some disclaimers. Obviously, we are working together, and we are putting disclaimers right below this tweet and in the description. So you guys should definitely go in and check that out. Our goal is to just put stuff on your radar, work with companies doing interesting and cool stuff. We got flown out there. We got to see in person the jets, and it was actually a really cool flyover. And I'm sure maybe we'll talk about that here. But our goal is to just put interesting stuff on your radar. You guys go in and make your decisions. Obviously, we're going to be talking about some stocks and tickers and stuff. And, you know, it's your hard worked money. You guys make sure you guys are going in and doing your research. Again, I'm about to put down the disclaimer right below this. If you're watching on Twitter, in YouTube, it will be in the description at some point soon. So make sure you guys are being informed investors as you guys are going in, taking any decisions as we're talking stuff going forward. But Dave, honestly, I just want to kick it over to you and just reintroduce Starfighters to everyone a little bit as we're going into this. I also do want to talk about the space economy in general. Maybe we actually even start there because there has been so much going on in the space economy. SpaceX, $1.5 trillion IPO coming up. They did confirm do a tender offer, a secondary offering at an $800 billion market cap, which I'm sure is a good thing. And then I know also this week I saw Jared Isaacman was confirmed as the new NASA administrator, actually getting in there. I'm sure that is a good sign. And just in general, there's been a lot of heat in the space economy. There's been a lot of talk out of nowhere, maybe, but for me, but maybe not for you and maybe not for Shy, both people who are kind of digging deep into this industry of data centers and space. That is a new theme that a lot of people are getting excited about. So just over the last couple of weeks, months, there's been an increased little excitement here in the space economy. So I'm going to stop blabbering here and throw it to you guys. I think these conversations is good. That smart people are talking to smart people. So yeah, Dave, why don't you kick us off here into some stuff and your thoughts on all that stuff I was talking about there.
Yeah, I mean, I think you nailed it. We certainly started off the year. I mean, Jesus, the year's almost over already, but we started off the year a lot of excitement in the market on space, and then it did seem to kind of die off a little bit in the middle there, and now we're back to space again with the announcement of the SpaceX IPO, which is really obviously good timing for Starfighters overall. Everyone's talking about space again. So we're super excited. I think we're going to see a lot of excitement in general in the market in space for the next year or two, and centered around certainly data centers in orbit, maybe even data centers on the moon. And Starfighters will obviously be right in the mix there with our suborbit and orbital launches.
Shy.
Yeah, I mean, I could also provide some additional color on like what's happening in space economy. I mean, you guys know I've been a pretty big space bull since 2023. I mean, it was the next frontier after AI. It was inevitable. And I think that even though a lot of these names have had were crazy big, like 10x in a matter of a couple of years, we have to be thinking about space as a $2 trillion economy that's going to be happening. I think the estimates were supposed to be by next decade. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens, if it becomes accelerated where it's not in the next like 10 years. It's going to be in next, like, I don't know, maybe even 5, because the buyers of the space economy is changing drastically, especially with this administration that we're in right now. Because I mean, 10 years ago, Dave can probably answer this as well. Like, space companies really just sold to like commercial customers, like research institutions, I don't know, like a lot of startups. But going into 2026, especially with the SpaceX IPO, which again, SpaceX is the anchor of the whole ecosystem. So now when the anchor of that ecosystem goes public, you have a much more clear benchmark of how things should be valued
Exactly.
at. For example, like I think SpaceX is 65 times price of sales for next year. Yes, they are the chef's kiss of the whole ecosystem, but they are a bit more mature than a lot of the other space companies out there that the scale of revenue that they're at right now, they're getting a 65x on their multiple shows that a lot of the names that people thought were smaller, they won't compete with SpaceX. That's totally fine, but there is now a new benchmark to be valuing space companies. And I think that the primary buyer of these space companies in next year is going to be more on sovereign spend. And I think that you're seeing a lot of like US government and their allies kind of treat space as core defense infrastructure, which they absolutely should be. Same level as like the naval fleets, the air tanks, cyber defense, like that is where space really does belong because there is a defense mechanism behind it. But the reason I want to call this out is when there's sovereign defense spend associated with an industry, that changes the buying behavior because it becomes a lot less cyclical. It becomes a lot more recurring. The budgets are they already know what the budgets are going to be years in advance. It's going to be a lot of politics are going to be a lot more insulated, and it's going to be directly tied to geopolitical tension. Like what you saw with cybersecurity, I don't know, like 6-7 years ago, like I kind of see the space economy in the early innings of what cybersecurity was back then. And when space becomes a national security infrastructure, the winners aren't necessarily going to be the most innovative companies. And that's what catches a lot of people off guard. It's going to be the ones that actually embed themselves in the procurements, planning, and doctrine of this economy that's so freaking early. And I think that's why Starfighter at IPL, like what today, like the performance is just incredible to see. And it's justified though, because what Starfighter is trying to build isn't necessarily the infrastructure like the Rocket Lab, SpaceX is doing, or even the ASTS is out there. They're doing it. Their whole thing is speed, like trying to get from point A to point B, rapid access to space on demand, fast deployment, with sensitive payloads, like missions where hours matter much more than costs. So from a defense standpoint, my interpretation of Starfighter, when we went to go see everyone in person, I don't even know when that was. Was that a year ago? It felt like a long time ago.
Yeah, I think it was about a year ago.
A year ago? Yeah. So, I mean, I saw even though, again, you don't have to be the next SpaceX competitor, et cetera. Like there is such a wide scope economy that even if you fit yourself in this niche, that niche can be highly profitable if you're at a specific valuation. And Starfighter was just at a criminally undervalued valuation when they were raising their funds, and now you're seeing the stock up like what was it 2x at the IPO?
Yeah, we're approaching 4x now.
4x. So like it makes sense because the whole bucket's getting re-rated, and it's. Again, even though it's a niche, it's a very important niche of the space economy. Speed. Yeah. It's like the Uber of the sky. We're just going from point A to point B. The sovereign spend is going to be massive. And yeah, I'll pause there. I went over a lot. Evan, if you have questions, Dave, if you have any kind of response.
Yeah, I mean, I think you also touched on Rocket Lab. Like we can't forget Rocket Lab either. I think they're approaching all-time highs today. I think they're up 9% today, and I think that's like another 60 to 65 multiple on earnings as well. So yeah, it's great to see that the sort of the macro space environment is like stabilizing, and we're starting to see like it's not so volatile, and people are kind of getting used to these numbers. It's good for us overall as well, of course.
No, I mean, it's great timing, to be honest, because I know, like, again, like I know this, but a lot of listeners don't know this. Like, you can't just flip a switch and decide to go public. Yeah. This is like an extensive period. It's like when you guys did this process, like you guys didn't realize SpaceX would go.
I mean, we had no idea. This whole process, at least with me, started 4 years ago. But Rick Svetkov, our CEO, has been doing this for 30 years. And Starfighters started off, interestingly enough, as an air show company. Like he was flying F-104s for the air show, and then it kind of sort of matured into like what you were saying. It wasn't sovereignty. It was like analyzing dust particles in the atmosphere, that kind of thing, like nerdy science stuff. And now it's really matured into what can we do with these jets flying at Mach 2? And obviously it's launching stuff into space, but more excited. I'm personally more excited about the defense aspect of Starfighters. We're getting obviously a tremendous amount of interest from the DOW because we can launch stuff at hypersonic speeds. I won't get into that too much. I don't want to get in trouble, but our rockets have what's called like a ramjet engine. So, you take your jet up to high altitude, fly at Mach 2 or higher. It ignites what's called the ramjet once you reach Mach 2, and then you can launch a rocket at hypersonic speeds, which obviously from a defense perspective, everything is transitioning over to hypersonics. Now, if you can't defend your country with hypersonics, you're going to be in a lot of trouble in the next couple of years. We've already seen, hypersonic missiles against Israel, against Iran. So, I mean, the future is really hypersonic defense. And we're we just kind of got lucky that we just fell into this like amazing period of time when all this has come together. And then, it's really is amazing because we couldn't have timed it any better, but we just, we had no idea that all this would be happening this year at this time. So it's been a pretty wild ride, and I think it's gonna be even better. It's gonna get even better, I think, next year.
I mean, a lot of leaders say this, but luck is a very important component on winners, and you can't predict them. And I mean, it's an exciting industry as well because it feels like just like this year alone, like this whole space economy stopped getting treated like some kind of science project or like sci-fi dreamers. Like it became an actual much more of a reality. I think AI probably accelerated that kind of belief because people thought AI was just like futuristic, then just hit them in the face with ChatGPT in 2022. And now I know a lot of people who can't live without it.
Now you can't tell what's real or what's fake anymore. Like you legitimately cannot.
100%.
I could be AI right now and you wouldn't even know it.
It's true though. But I do have a question for you, Dave. So my interpretation is Starfighter won't really. Obviously this past month, data centers in space has become such a massive theme because you're seeing Elon, Jeff Bezos, all the leaders talk about it. Orbital compute is what I like to call it because that's going to be the next thing once workloads become too much for the grid, the more complicated ones. I think that medium-sized launches are going to be the biggest beneficiaries off that theme on orbital computes. So like Neutron, hopefully when Rocket Lab launches that successfully, but really it's SpaceX's tailwind. Is there kind of a tailwind in that theme for Starfighter where there's the systems required for the data centers in space? Maybe not the actual medium-sized launches, but it's something where the maintenance required, where it's a speed of point A to point B. That's where Starfighter can really benefit off of like being the geek squad of the orbital computers.
The best analogy I've heard, and I can't remember maybe it was you or Evan. I can't remember so long ago, but 150 years ago when people were first coming to the United States and it was the great frontier and everyone was exploring, there were wagon trails, right? And then the gas vehicle eventually came around and people were just driving around aimlessly and people would like load up tanks of gas in their car to refuel their cars because there was no gas stations. And then, maybe we should have gas stations. And you're kind of seeing that happening with space now. Like it's so chaotic in space. 30,000 satellites floating around, 15,000 satellites launched sort of every year, 95% of which are Starlink. And I think you're starting to see now where it's like, okay, how do we actually handle this chaos? We're going to need hydrogen stations in space for refueling. You're going to need, tugboats that can bring things from A to B in space. So Starfighters is positioned, really well to get things anywhere in orbit. And that's the great thing about Starfighters is like we have the flexibility to launch from anywhere. Whereas, not to knock SpaceX or Rocket Lab, but they can launch basically from one spot, and that's at the Kennedy Space Center. We of course are based at the Kennedy Space Center, but we're also opening a spaceport at Midland next year, 2026. and talking about maybe even one in South America in the future as well. So we can launch anywhere. And yeah, like I said, we're just so well positioned for this, to handle sort of the chaos that is orbit right now.
No, I mean, when you're talking about it, just makes me think about like SpaceX, Rock Labs, Starlinks, ASTS. They're maybe all building the high rises of the cities, but it's up to you guys to build the highways for people to get to and from those high rises in the cities.
Exactly. It's like we're working backwards, right?
Yeah.
Which is a great place to be, honestly. Now it's like, okay, how do we actually build the infrastructure to handle all this stuff going into space? And there's going to be, Starfighters, we're kind of like the first, but there's going to be many, many, many coming. I think in the next couple of years, you're going to see, I think you're going to see in the next 6 months, a lot of focus on refueling. Like, how do we actually refuel these things in space? So like hydrogen stations, things like that, methane. I think that's going to be a really big focus as well.
So I have a CFO question for you. Rock Lab kind of was obviously a launch company. Now they morphed into something more of a space prime contractor. Like Space Systems is like 55% of the revenue now. Is there a lane where you guys are going to try to conquer the recurring revenue of the space economy that you guys have in mind of what that's going to look like potentially for you?
Yeah, Starfighters' focus, I think, in the next couple of years is going to be largely defense contracts. In terms of recurring revenue, given that our revenue model is not to like pay by pound, it's like more pay by launch. So certainly like that's something that will be front and center for us in terms of like recurring revenue per launch. Whereas like a lot of launch companies, it's like, okay, how large is your payload? It's 2,000 kilograms. Okay, 2,000 kilograms times whatever amount, that's how much it's going to cost you. But like we are basically on launch. So I don't know if that answered your question. It's kind of like a convoluted.
No, answer, it sounds like very preliminary brainstorming phase, but it's on the radar of what you guys want to do.
Like I said, right now we're heavily focused on hypersonics. Like we, in the last 6 months, have had some really incredible breakthroughs with some very large defense contractors who will not be named right now, but it's just been like really exciting, really, really exciting.
I do have a question. What do timetables kind of look like? So from when we last talked till now, I believe it was actually March of this year. So I think it was like 7, 8 months, close to a year, but not even. So I'm curious there, but like, what do like timetables? What are some milestones you guys are like excited about? Maybe even this. Some people do 2026 resolutions, but like 2026 targets or something like that. I'm sure a lot of companies do.
Yeah.
I'm curious on kind of what that looks like.
I guess I have to be careful talking about targets now that we're officially public as of today. But I don't know if you guys saw a couple months ago the article that GE Aerospace published about Starfighters. It was a pretty big deal when you get GE doing a press release on your company. And that was what I was alluding to before on the ramjet. So we were like the first ever to ignite a ramjet at Mach 2. And so the guys at GE were at the base and they were like jumping up and down. It was an amazing moment. So that was a super exciting thing that actually happened this year. But milestones for us, the obvious one is launching something into orbit. I think when that happens, everything changes for us. Getting our first really big defense contract is going to be like, really cool. And I think will put us sort of, put us up there with some of the bigger companies. Bringing in the new fleet that we've talked about. So right now we have 7 F-104s that fly every day, but we're bringing in a squadron of Phantoms. I'm allowed to say that. We've disclosed that. So, Rick Svekov doesn't really like me talking about that. But they're next generation fighter jets. There's only a couple styles of fighter, I guess would be the word, that can fly Mach 2 or higher. F-104, obviously. Starfighter is one of them. F-4 Phantom. Then you've got the Blackbird as well. And so, that's sort of the next evolution of Starfighters, is to have a squadron of those, dual engine planes, bigger payloads. And that's coming really quick. I think in the next, Q1 of 2026, we should have those landed at Kennedy.
So you guys have a $40 million war chest now. It's drastically different, I'm sure, than the past 4 years of how you can maneuver situations as CFO.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to be targeting more on like the infrastructure side of like more launching sites or more sites where you can do more things, or is that kind of the big rock of that war chest is going to go towards somewhere else that really I haven't really talked about yet?
I mean, the thing I love about Starfighters as a CFO is we're not like some tech startup that just like came around yesterday and we're going to burn through $40 million in like 6 months. We've been doing this for a really long time, and we're going to stay very lean. And so we're going to make that money last a long time. But to answer your question, we are opening 150,000 square foot state-of-the-art hangar spaceport at Midland. But Rick Spekhoff, being the amazing negotiator that he is, basically negotiated for Midland to build that for us for free. So it's going to be right next to AST, their spaceport at Midland.
Oh,
nice. So we've got that. It's going to have an engine bay, and we've actually already moved some F-104s over to Midland, which was really amazing. Like literally driving them through the streets of Midland. It's kind of funny. So yeah, I mean, I think our focus is obviously predominantly with Kennedy Space Center, continuing to do launches daily there, and then this next year, opening that spaceport at Midland is going to be really cool.
Amazing. Yeah. One last question before I pass back off to Evan to close it out.
Sorry, Shay, one more thing. We haven't talked about it. I know we want to focus on like the macro and stuff, but the ticker FJET, we haven't said it yet, but check it out. We just IPO today.
Great call out. Yeah, great call out. Last thing I wanted to say was I am a big time space investor. Obviously, I've said that in the beginning. I anticipated more of a behavior change on the administration on sovereign spend after the middle school fight that Trump and Elon had, where they just can't rely on a specific vendor as much as they thought they can, because who knows when they use that as a pawn on any kind of argument. Did you notice a behavior change across the administration after that instance?
Big time.
Okay.
We started to get a lot more phone calls from the Hill, from DC, and a lot more interest. Like, hey, maybe we can't put all of our eggs into the Elon Musk basket here. He seems like kind of a wild card. But I think they're buddies again, so I don't know. But yeah, the interest in Starfighters, and I think that's largely why like our focus is kind of, I don't want to say shifted, but we've been paying a lot more attention to DOW stuff, and they've been paying a lot of attention to us. I just don't think in general it's ever good to have sort of one company have a monopoly over a sector. Like I said, SpaceX, Starlink was like represented 95% of all launches this year. I think like the other 5% was like China, but like mostly it was Starlink. That's not a good thing. I mean, it's really good for Starlink and SpaceX, but generally for the market, it's terrible. And if you're like just like a commercial provider, like Verizon or something, you're like, okay, we need to launch our satellites into space, but AT&T has an exclusive contract with SpaceX. Like, how do we do this, right? Yeah. I mean, it's just good to have more players like Starfighters coming into the market.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that sentiment. And even though they got back together, we all had that first girlfriend. You guys broke up and you got back together afterwards, but that breakup, it's scarred. You always remember it. So,
and I will say, sorry to interrupt, I will say also one thing that I learned this year was that the Department of War is very worried about having to rely on Starlink for their communications. So they need something a little more secure, right? So I think you're going to see a lot more like secure telecommunications satellites being launched into space this year.
That's music to AST shareholders'
Yeah.
ears.
Yes, it is.
Pass it to you, Evan.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I appreciate Shy, and I know you have a hard stop coming up, so if you do just have to drop off. If you guys don't know Shy, whenever you see him on TV or wherever he is, you know it's going to be great content for that bit. But Dave, I did want to talk more about the IPO and stuff like that. Today is obviously a big day for you guys. Ticker FJET, as you did say in there. It is live, and it went live at what, $3.65 or 69 cents with the IPO price.
We actually opened up. Yeah, the IPO price was $3.59, but we opened up at
$9.
just shy of $10. Yeah.
And then right now we're trading around 12.25. So point being,
Yeah,
it's been a good day so
been
far.
a good day. Been a great day.
Congrats on that one.
Thank you.
What do you what has the last couple days been like for you, and what does this IPO process look like? You can go and ring the bell at some point. I don't know if that's works in these things or not, but
Yeah, we will be ringing the bell. So generally, unless you're like a Facebook or someone massive IPO, you don't ring the bell on the same day you IPO. So for us, it'll be we'll probably head to the New York Stock Exchange sometime late January to ring the bell. But the last couple of days has been obviously insane. Haven't slept very much. Slept at the office last night. Was here really early. And yeah, it's been super exciting though. I'm running on pure adrenaline right now. At some point I'm going to crash and burn, but right now it's pretty exciting.
I'm sure the last couple hours has made it a lot better.
Yeah.
What do you want people who are just finding out about Starfighters now for the first time? They see the FJET ticker up a good percentage points, and honestly, the way the stock market works, maybe you want to wait. Whatever. I'm sure you want long-term investors here to come in who really care about this company. People who are passionate about it. What do you want people to where should they start doing their research? What do you want people to know as they're starting to do their research specifically into Starfighters? Yeah, I'm just curious your thoughts on that. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are finding out about this for the first time and taking their first look into all everything.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about how we raised the $40 million is we did it all through what's called a Reg A offering. So we allowed people that weren't necessarily accredited high net worth investors to come in. Now we've got 5,000 shareholders, some of which have invested as little as $1,000. And those people are extremely loyal to our company. They love the story. We're veteran owned. Rick Svetkov, Navy veteran. All our pilots are Navy veterans. It's an amazing story. We aren't going anywhere. We're based at the Kennedy Space Center. Encourage you to come down to Kennedy and there's always SpaceX launches happening twice a week now. So, come on down, do your research, Google us. Plenty of SEC filings that you can look at to read. But more importantly, I just, I want people to know that we're not going anywhere. It's going to be a really exciting 2026. We've got lots of money in the war chest, as Shay was alluding to. And we're just going to use that to explode. Like our growth is going to be amazing.
I'm curious more on the ticker here. Fighter jet, FJET. I'm a fan of it.
Fighter jet, yeah, FJET.
If I could ask a little behind the scenes here, were there some others that were considered in there? Was there anyone that was FJET the one that? Well, I don't know. Was FJET? Yeah.
No, it wasn't my idea. I think it was Rick's idea. Yeah, I mean, we obviously floated around some other tickers, but this one just really resonated, and I just love it.
Yeah, I am a fan of a good ticker. I'm more of a marketing guy, so that kind of makes
it's important. It really is. What do you think in the SpaceX ticker is going to be?
Well, people have been memeing it a little bit. And I also don't know what's available. It's funny. I have one or two people in the space in the ETF space who they kind of just reserve tickers. So I think like one or two of them is taken, and it's actually not bad. So
that was really challenging for us. Like the amount of tickers that are reserved already, it was not an easy process.
A good one. You guys got a good one. I like it though.
Yeah.
I like it though.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anything that I didn't ask you on this one that you maybe were excited to talk about?
No, I think we've covered it all. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to jump on again, maybe next week or
I'm looking forward to it. And it's Christmas. So we got the stuff going on. Maybe we even Well, we'll see going on, but definitely excited to watch Starfighters. Excited to eventually see the earnings and covering all that stuff. Do you know? I'm just gonna put it into the world. I see a lot of companies after after the numbers come out before the earnings call. Sometimes some of the management people go on a live conversation somewhere. Maybe we see what happens, but yeah, I'm looking forward to following Starfighters into the future and seeing everything that you got going on. My favorite thing about this IPO is that now we just get more and more information going forward and more stuff to talk about and more of these conversations at good times. So I
Absolutely.
appreciate you for joining us. And like I was saying earlier, make sure you guys are going in and doing your research, make informed decisions. If it's not right for you, it's not right for you. If it is right for you, that's great. What I can tell you is these guys are going to have some really cool content at least. Just fighter jets going across, doing cool things, launches, fun stuff. So at least it will be good stuff to watch. But I appreciate you for joining in, Dave. Congrats on the day. And I'm excited to see what happens going forward. Watch it in the journey. Congrats.
Pleasure as always, Evan. Thank you